Hello, my smartest artist. We have been talking about Bryce Canyon National Park. Today we're going to talk about foreground, middle ground, and background. If you look in the foreground, things appear closer because we're closer to them. Middle ground is the same, it's middle or medium. And background is smaller because it's further away. If you want to today, when you're watching the drawing video, you can use this drawing handout. Remember, your drawing can be different, and you can stop and pause. Hello guys, Mr. Caldwell here. We've been talking about Bryce Canyon National Park, and we've been talking about hoodoos, and today we're going to be making a Bryce Canyon inspired piece of artwork. Okay, if you look at my handout here, this is just a simple drawing. We've been talking about foreground, middle ground, and background. So today we're going to be doing a drawing. Your drawing can look different than mine. You don't have to follow me. If you want to follow me, you can. It's up to you. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've got a brown piece of paper. It's a Trader Joe's bag. You can use parchment paper. If you have white paper at your home, you can use white paper, like white drawing paper. If you have a brown paper bag from the grocery store, you can use that. I want you to focus on using what art materials you have at home. I also, if you notice, have a black oil pastel. I'm using a black oil pastel. You can use a black crayon. I'm using it so you can see me draw. With that in mind, if you draw with a crayon or a black oil pastel, if you mess up, you're going to have to go with it. Look, you can see me right here. I have a pencil. Now, you know that I like to start my drawings in pencil or marker or black oil pastel. If you want to sketch with a pencil first, you can, and then outline. That's up to you. I think I'm just going to go for it, and I'm going to use the black oil pastel. Now, I've cut my paper already. I used one side of the bag. If you notice, it's got rips. I'm not worried about that. It's kind of torn on the edge. That's okay. That's going to kind of give it an antique look. You don't have to do that. If you like your paper just a straight edge, like this, or like this, that's fine too. Use what you got. All right, here we go. All right, so today I'm going to start at the bottom of my paper. I'm going to have to move my paper down while I work so you can see, but I'm going to start working on my foreground. If you looked at the PowerPoint, we know that foreground's in the front. So I'm going to start on the side, and maybe I want to draw a nice curved line, because if you look at some of the canyons are curved, and I'm going to keep on drawing. So I'm going to add another curved line. I'm going to add one more coming up. And then I'm going to add a squiggly right here. And maybe over here. Okay, so I've got my foreground. So now I'm going to start working on my hoodoos. And we know that hoodoos are land formations caused by erosion. So I'm going to start with the base of my hoodoo. And I'm going to just draw a little curved line and make it come down. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Nature has a lot of organic curves in it. Let's see. And I'm going to just draw the top because this is where it's going to tell me to stop. And have fun with this. It doesn't have to be perfect. Alright, so there's one hoodoo. And I'm going to draw another one. I'm going to make a skinny one this time. And if you notice, each hoodoo has a different section. And I'm going to put this handout, let me find the page, in your PowerPoint for you to look at. Okay? And you can change it up. You can do whatever you want. It's your piece of artwork. I like this little like balancing rock top thing, so I'm going to keep going with it. And then maybe I want to do one more on the side of my paper. Oops, if you notice, that's okay. I'm just going to let it go off the side. I'm going to make a big old rock. Okay, so now I've got my hoodoos drawn. I'm going to kind of work on my middle ground some. So when I'm working on my middle ground, it's very important that you stop. And you continue after each piece, because if I kept drawing, I'd just make a line right through there. And I don't want to do that. I want my hoodoos to look like they're in front of my middle ground. So let's see. So I think that's good for my middle ground. And then I'm going to draw a hoodoo in the background. He's going to be a big one. See, I made a mistake right there. That's okay. Just going to keep going with it. I mean, if you need to pause to catch up, do it. So I'm going to do one more. And then I'm going to draw. Like my rock's going off the page. That's okay. Maybe I want to add one over here. So that's up to you. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with this. Okay. So let's see. I want to have the sun coming down right in there. Alright, I'm very happy with this. So if you look, I've got my foreground, my middle ground, I've got my hoodoos, I've got my background, and I've got some overlapping going on. So today, I just want you to draw your picture, and when we come back next time, we're going to add some color to it. I could even take my oil pastel, and I could come in here and add some different textures if I wanted to. Let's see. I like that. It makes it look more rock-like. So I'm using line to add texture. So that's up to you. If you like it the plain Jane way, that's okay. Alright. So I will see you next art class. Alright, I am back. One thing I wanted to show you, we are going to be adding some color. I'm going to be using watercolor, but if you don't have watercolor at home, that's okay. Use crayons, use markers, use what you got. Okay. I've added some cacti in my canyon, so that's an option if you want to add cacti. But let's go ahead and start. So when I use my watercolor, if you're using watercolor, remember I need to wipe my brush to get that extra water off. Well, I need to add some water first to my watercolors to wake them up. So now I'm ready to paint. So I'm going to wipe and get some of that extra water off. I could use my paint tray. This is actually a mixing tray. I'm going to add a little more water. And now I'm ready to start. But I'm actually going to mix. some colors. And just experiment and have fun. So I'm going to make like a yellow-green to make this a little lighter. So I'm going to start with my cactus. And I'm just going to paint this in. And it may look a little brown because I use brown paper, but it's okay. It gives it a nice texture to it. So I may come back to this once it dries. Alright, now, one thing though is I want you to limit your color palette. So I'm going to limit mine to maybe orange, brown. You don't want a lot of colors because you'll make it all muddy. And we saw that in the past when we made art before. So I'm going to use orange. There we go. Let's see. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start painting some of my background. Now if you're using crayons or watercolor or markers, that's okay. Now remember, if your hands get tired, you can always take a break, because I'd rather you take a break and do good artwork and come back to it than just rush through to get it done. So maybe my hands are tired, so maybe I just want to take a little break. Let's see. Finish painting my cactus down here. Maybe I want like a red orange, so I'm going to take red, mix it in with some orange. Yeah, I like that. Get some of those canyon colors. Alright, let's see. I'm going to start on the next piece. And I'm not going to use brown because I've already got brown. My paper's brown. So maybe I want this one to be more red. You may have to hold your paper down. You know, as an artist, sometimes too, you create pieces of artwork, and as you go, you learn. And I have learned that while I enjoy this watercolor, it's not as bright as I want it to be. So maybe at the end, I have to come back in, repaint it, or maybe when it dries, I might switch over to crayons and use some crayon in this. So you live and you learn. Maybe I want to leave some brown. Alright, so now I'm going to work on my hoodoos. So let's see. And I like to pull up pictures of canyons to look at canyons, so I'm going to use my iPad. And look at some of the colors of the canyon. Alright, so when I look in here, I see different oranges and reds, and maybe some yellows and greens. So think about how you could use your computer also to help you have pictures and images. Okay, here we go. So I saw a lot of red, so I'm going to continue with this, but I'm going to come in here and add another color. Maybe I want to. Let's try adding a little brown and see what happens. Well, it makes it a little darker. I like that color though. Maybe I want to add a little yellow to it. Too much yellow. I'm going to tone it down a little. Alright, so I'm going to keep on working until my picture is done. Maybe I want to create a variety of colors, so I'm not going to use the same color for each rock, because maybe each rock is a different color. Alright, so I'm going to work and finish this. I want you to keep working and finish coloring yours. I need to finish my middle ground, my background, and my foreground. Let's see if I can fold it up. And my foreground. So remember, when you're drawing, your cactuses need to be kind of big, like mine. And as you get further away, okay, things get smaller. Okay, so if I were to draw a little hoodoo here, I draw a little tiny one. Let's see if I can add one. A little tiny one. And think about your point of view too. Okay, so the smaller it is, the further away it's going to be. And it may be too little to add. I added a little bit of lines. So I'm going to paint it real quick. So I want you to finish working on your piece of artwork. If you finish, you need to take a picture and upload it to your Google Classroom. Don't forget to include your name on the back or on the front so that you know it's yours. Alright, I'm going to keep working. I want you to keep working. See you in a few.